Hello, welcome to Game 3 of my match against Cardmaster for C-League C4, Season 45. I've got a 5-2 here. I'm almost certainly going to click on Sculptor. Just need to examine the full kingdom first. Draw is a little bit weak. Experiments, pretty tough to get Experiment draw to work. You can trash with Moneylender, Remodel, Ducat. Villages with Ghost Town. Ghost Town University, draw with Experiments. Experiments are the only draw. If you play University to gain Experiments, it's like a village, and then you get to play those two experiments. So it's like a lab in the end that's delayed. Obviously, you prefer it to be in real time, but it's probably enough to go for. You can also sculpt experiments. If you have enough villages, you can sculpt experiments, and again, it's like a lab. And you want the sculptor anyways. So I'm always clicking on the sculptor here with 5. There's not really any other good stuff. And I don't really want just a random Ducat, apropos of nothing. So I think I'm just going to pass this turn with sculptor. You can actually sculpt for Ducats, which is interesting. You get you get the villager from the sculptor. Ducat lets you trash a copper, which is pretty nice. So depending on what I draw with Sculptor, I might sculpt for some Ducats to get some villagers up and running, so I can then sculpt for experiments later. Another thing with if you have extra experiments and actions in your deck is you can sheep them for +2 coins, and you get to keep them. So that's pretty nice in terms of like getting overdraw if you can in this kingdom, or even just hitting your price points, then stopping the turn by sheeping your experiments instead of playing them. There is a deck archetype here which gains all of the experiments every turn and denies them to your opponent. I'm not 100% sure I want to play that, but that deck archetype does exist. They're opening with the potions. They're going for the experiment stuff. Yeah, potion experiments make sense. So with this sculptor, I can gain a silver and another sculptor. That actually seems the best to me. Rather than the Ducat thing. If I had a different price point, I might do this differently. But I can also gain a potion and buy a university. So those are my other two choices. I guess I do want universities, so I will go ahead and take those now. And then this turn probably take some experiments so I can cycle around. It does seem important to get a Moneylender and a Remodel into the deck fairly quickly. Turning estates into experiments, turning coppers into money seems good. I'd even overlooked that Sculptor can gain potion. That was a oversight on my part. I know that that's a thing that can happen because it can be really powerful because I don't have to sacrifice the university turn 4, 3 or 4, and I still get the Sculptor. Okay, early game, I'm just gonna play these with 5. I guess I'm going to take another sculptor. Here I've got some choices. Remodel. I think I'm just going to take the Moneylender here, though. Trash the copper and get another university. I do need to a little bit watch out for my villager stuff. Okay, so the only sort of key variable here is what I'm gaining with my sculptor. I think I'm probably just going to gain experiments to get this turn off and running. I do want to get a remodel here. I think I'm likely to be able to sculpt for it later on. Be able to sculpt and play it, so I'm going to gain experiments here. And then this sculptor will also gain experiments 1 to hand, which I can play, and gain another university. I have 3 sculptors in my discard pile. As I said, we're gaining experiments very fast. Sorry, 3 experiments in my discard pile. We're gaining experiments very fast. You do have to watch out that your opponent's not able to gain all 10 at the end of their turn, and then you don't have any. I think that's pretty rare and not really a practical consideration, but it's at least something for consideration in this kind of kingdom. So I should have one extra university. Yeah, so I'm up one on the universities. We both have moneylenders. We both have 2 sculptors now. I've trashed 1 copper. And we both have moneylenders. I have 3 experiments in this shuffle. They've got 1. I am first player, so I appear to be a little bit ahead. Being able to have gained and played those experiments was nice. And obviously the sculptor turn 1 is quite nice. I do want to try to be ending turns with a villager. Just for hands like this, let me do a little bit more. They played a moneylender and bought an experiment. Okay. So in order to be able to play both my cards, I'm going to do it this way and gain 2 experiments. So with 5 experiments in this shuffle, I feel pretty good. Hopefully they return some experiments here for the thing that I want to do. It looks like maybe that won't happen though. I'd like to be able to university for experiments and then sculptor for experiments to keep the turn going. I should have 5 experiments in this shuffle. I think it's an odd number because I gained and played 1 with sculptor. Not like 100% clear what I do with this university if they take all the experiments and leave none in the pile. I can't gain Ghost Town, unfortunately. None of the other cards are particularly appealing, other than maybe just another sculptor. At worst, sculptors you can gain a bunch of silvers and have a pretty nice deck that way. And you've got a bunch of villagers, but in general, obviously you prefer to be sculpting and universitying for experiments. Yeah, they gained 2 experiments last turn and they had 1 in the deck, so they've got 3 currently. I've got 5. I suppose they're thinking about what to do here. Certainly taking the 2 experiments seems good. Puts me in a little bit of a tough position. I'll probably actually gain a sculptor and then a sculptor remodel the estate into a ghost town and buy a university. Maybe a little bit overboard in the universities. Maybe I don't need to buy a university. I'm not quite sure what. I had some lag earlier where like this all happened at once for me. Not quite sure what they're thinking about between gaining the remodel and playing the second university. So it's difficult for me to analyze what they're saying. Okay, so they didn't find any experiments this turn. So okay, so the only question is, do I want a 4th university? I guess the answer to that is no. I'm good with universities. I could have actually remodeled that potion into something. A gold. And I guess I'm just ending turn here. I don't really want a 3rd university quite yet. Or a 4th university even at this point. For multiple remodels, that's interesting. Not quite sure what the remodels after the first one is doing. Okay. They gained a university and a ghost town. Okay, well, I think I'm just playing all of these. So the question is, do I want to play this experiment or just save it? I think I'm going to save it. It's hard for me to gain in a number of experiments that aren't twos. I don't really want to sculpt for it and gain 2. So I think I'm just going to gain 4 experiments here, and then I can sheep it. So that's nice. I'm definitely going to play this moneylender and trash a copper. I think I'm going to grab this another ducat now, get the villager, and then buy a couple of ghost towns. Sorry, get the villager and the coffer, both the things. The moneylender can be eaten later. Grab a couple of ghost towns now. Get more into this next shuffle. I believe I have 6 experiments in this shuffle. We'll see. I'm being very careful with my experiments here. Again, I have the ability that turn I could have gotten more even. So if there had been one more in the pile, I would have played that one and then sculpted for 2 and tried to just slowly, kind of like one does with encampments, try to slowly build up my lead with experiments and buy all the experiments every turn to deny them. It's not like the biggest factor here, but it is certainly the only draw. So at some point we do need to switch to greening, and that's fairly soon. Obviously the experiments pile is quite low. The ghost town pile will run. I don't really think the sculptor pile will run, but I'm not really sure. I like having coffers and villager. And with the ghost town stuff now that we're both doing, we weren't doing ghost towns before because we had experiments to gain, but without good 3 costs, experiments to gain, we're getting ghost towns now. I should be able to save this villager for quite a while, potentially get a big turn off with sculptors and stuff. Sculpt, gain, remodel something into something, and then yep, they're sculpting for ducat now. Remodeling a state, I assume, into Ghost Town. Yeah, the university pile's only got 4, but we can only buy 1 university at a turn, and so because we only have 1 potion, so it's not really a pile threat. And the sculptors are 5, which is a price point you can't sculpt. Honestly, like the ducat or the remodel pile is probably more likely to go. Estates, maybe you get a couple ducats in play, sculpt for a couple of estates, remodel something into a state. Seems possible. You're getting more ghost towns. Okay, so I'm going to play at least 1 experiment. Now I'm going to play 2 experiments. Okay, so I can sculpt for an experiment here, gaining 2, playing 1. I can also remodel something into an experiment. I'm not like that far from the pile out that I mentioned. I'm pretty far. So the question is, if I sculpt for an experiment and play 1, if I don't find another one, am I willing to buy the 1 to get an even number? Or I just want to say I'm pretty happy with the number of experiments in my deck. I'm not really. I think I'm going to sculpt for 1 and play 1. Okay, that gets me quite a bit further through the deck. So I've got 5 cards down there, some sculptors, Looks like some ghost towns even. I think I probably want to draw into that. Yeah, so here I will sculpt for another experiment. Feels a little bit like spinning, but so I can even trigger a pretty nice shuffle with a whole bunch of experiments in it. My bottom card, I think, is my other sculptor. I'm just going to stop here, gain the rest of the experiments. Probably going to remodel this copper for money. Sorry, moneylender this copper for money. Remodel the potion into harem, I suppose. It's not quite as much money as gold, but it gives me a little bit of VP just in case they have some kind of, well, the pilot would be estates, I guess, and then I can potentially remodel the gold or harem into province. This university, I'll take another sculptor, I guess. Yeah, so now I guess universities can gain sculptors. They've got 3, so they can gain 3 sculptors and 3 ghost towns in a turn. That seems sort of like the minimum, the best possible thing they could do. So I'm going to remodel this potion into harem, and I think I'm just going to buy a province. Feels a little bit lame, but the game is close to ending, and I don't want to give them a pile out. Not the greatest start for me. I do have a lot of experiments. Down in this 20 cards. I guess the problem is they need to use university with the sculptor ghost town pile out. Is you need to use those cards. Like most of my plays of those cards last turn were gaining. So 2 universities gained experiments. That was 4. Sculptor gained experiments. Sculptor gained experiments. So I have 6 experiments down here. But that was 4 of my gains were used on experiments. So they seem to be doing something kind of similar here. It feels good to have the point lead and the shuffle with a lot of nice cards in it. That's quite sad, gaining 1. Potion into harem makes some sense. See if they go for the province as well. I can gain a province here if I want to sculpt the remodel harem into province, which maybe is the thing to do. And then like potentially the remodel even gets to be the 3rd pile if we are piling those down. The sculptor, yeah, is pretty flexible here. Like worst case scenario, I'd gain a silver and a villager and buy something for 4. But having the villager down, and I have a ghost town coming to play, so I don't need a villager. I can always just gain a remodel and remodel whatever the highest price point card is in my hand to the highest treasure or green card that I can get. They have seen all of their experiments this turn, so their next 4 cards don't have a lot of experiments in them. For whatever that's worth. Because if there's no experiments in the pile, then every single one of these cards in the deck is a stop card. The sculptor is only not a stop card if there's an experiment in the pile. Ghost towns are nice, but they're stop cards in this current turn. Yeah, so I don't think I needed to have been worried about a pile. I could have taken another ghost town last turn if I really wanted to. They're even sheeping. Okay, they're just sheeping everything to get to province, it looks like. Yeah, they didn't need to spend their coffer there. See what I draw with this ghost town. I drew sculptor. Okay. Well, I'm sculpting a remodel and remodeling harem into province. And I think I'm just going to sculpt a ghost town to guarantee I can kick off next turn. I'll have 2 ghost towns in play, so I shouldn't need villagers next turn. And I have lowered the piles, but I don't think they can, as I said, they need to score VP and regain all the experiments that they spend. And depending on what they drew in these 3 cards, they may not even have found experiments. They've only got 4 experiments in whatever was 15, 16 cards they had. They had 4, so 3 cards on top, so 4 experiments in a decent space. So even with the ghost towns coming in, they weren't necessarily going to find their experiments. So the question is now, can I win on my turn? It's a lot of gains. I need to gain 3 experiment, 3 sculptors, 2 ghost towns, and however many, probably 2 or 3 gains. So it's 8 gains I need. That being said, I have a couple of sculptors. I have 2 sculptors down here and 3 universities. So that's 5 gains. And sculptors can gain, so universities gain sculptors, sculptors gains ghost towns, and I use like moneylender on copper, if I have a copper even still, or I remodel moneylender into experiments or something. That seems possible. Okay, looks like they're just going to buy a province. So now I need to add some VP to that. I mean, I'm always drawing with at least 2, and I'm always drawing with at least 4. Okay, so I didn't find all of my stuff. Is there a third pile other than experiments? Not really. So I think I need to play an experiment here and an experiment. Okay, great. So this is my deck. Down in my discard pile, I've got a couple of sculptors. What do I have in my discard pile? Province, a couple of sculptors. Province, 2 sculptors. What did I draw last turn? 2 estates, ghost town. No, 2 estates, sculptor, ghost town, sculptor, province. So 2 sculptors, 2 estates, ghost town, and province. So I have to consider if I can win with that set of cards. So the thing I'm thinking about here, I don't think I have enough draw to do it, is milling a whole bunch of provinces. Okay, so let me count my gains. I have 6 gains in hand. I need 8 gains to win. So a university for 3 sculptors. Oh, I need to get VP too. University for 3 sculptors, sculpt for 2 ghost towns, moneylend, copper, that gives me 7 money, and then sheep the experiment, remodel ghost town into duchy, sheep the experiment, moneylender 6, 6, 7, 8. I think this is a win. 4, 7, 9. So university for 3 sculptors, sculpt for 2 ghost towns. Those piles are empty. Moneylender, I have enough actions to play everything. Moneylender gives me net 3, so that's 5 money. Experiments is sheep, that's 7 money. I have the 2 ducats is 9 money. Remodel ghost town into duchy. I have 3 buys. Sculptor, 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 ghost town, ghost town. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Remodel. Okay. Boy, I hope I'm right. Okay, so I just need to now render, remodel. Tight one. I was just there by exactly 1 coin. Pretty happy to have found that. I could have, I think, gained more provinces and probably was in a good position. But obviously, if there's a good pile out like that, happy to take it. Moving on to game 4.